Got at least three committees present.
That's better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
Who's the young gentleman?
Rather sadly, Gabby and her family are moving away from England, going to Germany, where they've got their own sons and daughters in the family.
Yeah. Those are the previous minutes for signing.
Okay, yeah. Presumably Gabby is coming back in.
She's gone to get a drink.
Yeah, we'll wait for her.
On the safeguarding, it's only the blue links.
It is gone 2 o'clock. I can't welcome you yet because I am not officially chair. And I must hand over to Joe, who will take us through the process of electing a chair.
Yes, thank you, Michael. So the first part of the Sacre Committee, as with all November meetings, is to appoint a chair and vice chair today. Now, Michael has indicated he's happy to do on a yearly basis. Can I have a proposer, please? Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you very much. That's lovely. And with the same with the vice chair. Now, Lauren has indicated she's happy, however, has had to submit her apologies today. Therefore, is there anyone in the room today that can be our vice chair for the meeting?
Just to be clear on that, Gabby, there's no expectation for you to do anything. So.
Can I take that as a yes, Gabby? Is that okay? Brilliant. Thank you very much. And we had a proposer and a seconder there, didn't we? I believe. So, handing over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and may I therefore welcome everyone to this meeting this afternoon. This is a very grand room for Sacre to meet in, and while it works very well for the formality of a scrutiny committee, it's not all that suitable for a Sacre meeting where we try to interrelate a little bit more and have conversation. Even if I said come up a bit closer, I don't think it would have that much effect. So we'll just do the best we can with this. And it's good to see you. And can I just say about the vice chair situation that I would like to propose that we invite Hifsa Iqbal to be our vice chair in future. And she has been vice chair of this Sacre many years ago. So she's not unfamiliar with it. And I would like to recommend that to Sacre. Would you be happy with that? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. So, apologies.
Thank you, Chair. We've received the following apologies today. Lauren Nicholson-Ward, Sam Kerwin, Sam Phillips, Sean Miles, Zoe Callahan, Vicky Priestley, Councillor Northcott, Councillor Wilcox, Councillor Perry, Hifsa Haroon Iqbal, Lisa Gretton, and finally Vicky Wayman. Thank you.
The reason that Hifsa isn't able to join us is because she's broken her ankle. It's just possible that she's watching us on the web cam thing. So may we wish Hifsa a speedy recovery and every good wishes from Sacre, and say that she's sorry we can't be with us. If you're watching, Hifsa, best wishes to you from all of us. I don't know, where's the camera? Okay. Thank you very much. Now, we have the pleasant task of welcoming new members. And I think this is Lindsay's first meeting. Lindsay represents the Church of England, and I know her as a colleague on the Board of Education. So it's lovely to see Lindsay here. So welcome to Lindsay. And is it Sam? Samuel. Yeah, good to see you. And you're representing? Free Churches. Excellent. Very good. And welcome to you as well. It's a strange body, the Advisory Council. It has 4 committees or groups, and we have at least 3 of the groups represented here this afternoon. The group representing the local authority, that's our 2 esteemed councillors at that end of the room. The Church of England, which is Lindsay and myself. The other denominations and religions other than the Church of England, which I think includes Gabby and Sam and Linda. Sorry?
She's the last group.
Oh, you're representing the teacher organisations and groups. Oh, wonderful. The way we work is that if we have to make a formal decision, although we very rarely do so, unless it's very necessary, each of the groups or committees has 1 vote. For that purpose, in order for this meeting to be quorate, there has to be a representative from at least 3 of the 4 groups. And it so happens that although we're very few, all 4 groups are actually represented here this afternoon. So, if I dare say so, hallelujah. We can proceed. So I hope that Sam and Lindsay will be able to get into the sort of style and the structure of the way the Sacre works. Our task is really to oversee religious education and collective worship in the county, and that includes all schools, not just those that are still related to the local authority. However, academies and free schools have got much more independence, and we have to negotiate contacts with them, and it's much more a kind of relational thing rather than a statutory thing. But we do try to support and encourage RE in every school within the county. Okay, so update on membership. Jo, anything further on this one?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So with regards to membership, the committee has lost 4 members from Committee A and 1 member from Committee C. So they are namely Maddie Bell, the Venerable Dr. Lau, Mohammed Sedki and Tachinder Singh, and finally Judy Wyman. This is due to their memberships expiring or just being unable to continue their role. So I'd like to thank these members for their hard work and contributions throughout Sacre, and of course wish them well.
Yes, indeed. One or 2 of them may have moved away from here.
Exactly.
So that's right.
Now, in terms of new members, we've just welcomed Lindsay and Samuel as well, so welcome again. And with regards to the vacancies that we have, if I could just list the ones we do still have vacancies on. We still have vacancies for the Jewish denomination. Now, there is interest here. I have found an interested individual, but I think it's worth mentioning. There was an obstacle on them attending in person, and because we're unable to offer that just yet, that's where we are at the moment, but we're hoping that things may change in future there.
Oh,
yes, yeah. And then also vacancies on the Free Church, the Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, Buddhist and the Salvation Army. So I am emailing and chasing to gather interest, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
I won't say it's a thankless task, but it's an ongoing task, isn't it? And the SACRE has to relate to quite a number of different sponsoring bodies, and each of whom is invited to send their representative, who has to be validated by that organisation. So there is a process here, and it takes time. Could I just say a brief word about the Jewish representative? This is quite a difficult one because the area of Staffordshire does not have many practicing Jews actually within it. And those that do live within this area may not relate to the one synagogue which actually does exist, which is the one in Newcastle, the Hebrew congregation there. There's a much livelier Jewish presence, if you like, in Manchester, less so in Birmingham, I have to say. So we do not have easy contacts with the Jewish community. And the one or two people that I have been in touch with say that this is not a good time to be recognised as a Jew in a public space at this moment, sadly. And they're very, very apprehensive about appearing as a representative of the Jewish community or the Jewish faith and being identified in that way. I think we need to take note of that. It is a sign of our present situation, and why, among other things, religious education can play such an important part in helping people to live together in a way that is tolerant of other people who are different and with whom there may be considerable disagreements and historic situations that cause ill feeling. So this is a delicate area here, but thank you very much, Joe. Right, we can move on to the next item, item 5. Just a quick word. The protocols for the committees on the County Council, of which this is one, normally do not allow for any other business. So this is here just in case people do feel that they want to raise an urgent issue which isn't covered in the agenda. So this is an opportunity, a very great privilege, I should imagine, in these rooms, to say, have you got any items of other business that you wish to raise? Okay, I'll just say that. Okay, on then to the minutes of the previous meeting, at which I was not present, and I was very grateful to Kath Perry for taking over the chair at short notice and for taking us through the meeting. You have received the meeting minutes. Councillor Philip Atkins was present and Gabby was present. Are you happy for these minutes to be signed as a true record? Yep. Okay, thank you very much. I will do so. And we move on to the actual minutes themselves, just in case people wish to ask any questions about them, I think. Is anything not clear on the minutes that people wish to follow up or to have explained? Okay, good. Many of the things that are in the minutes are in fact going to be picked up and followed on today. So we move on to item 7, update on key issues, and Mary is going to take us through this. Mary.
Hello everybody, and for those who haven't met me before, I'm Mary Gale. I'm not a member of the SACRE. I run my own education company, and I have been commissioned by Staffordshire County Council and Interest to support SACRE with all matters regarding religious education. So I'm an independent person in that respect. I work all over the country, so I just don't work in Staffordshire, so it's quite good because I get the national perspective as well as just the local perspective, which I think is very useful in these times. So you have in front of you on page 11 and moving over onto page 12, you have a summary of the aspects that I have been covering since the last meeting. And the last meeting was in June, wasn't it? So the first, I'm not going to read everything that's on here, I'll just refer to them. So the first item there, 6A, the West Hill Legacy Project on Explore, Engage, Reflect. Explore, Engage, Reflect is the mantra of... Hello.
Traffic's dreadful.
Hello, don't worry, we're just starting on the key issues. Is that okay? So the West Hill Legacy Project, Explore, Engage, Reflect, goes back a number of years where the Sacre were given a grant to work in schools on delivering aspects of the agreed syllabus that we have for religious education in Staffordshire. That was from 2016. This was updated in 2023. And the Explore, Engage, Reflect aspects now are where we go into schools and we talk about Christianity, we talk about Islam, and within that we have certain people that go into school, talk to the children and run workshops. The Sacre pays for those people to do that work, which is what we use the majority of our budget on. Previously, this was supported by the Minority Ethnic Achievement Service from Entrust, but due to bereavements and that team become smaller, we now have our own commissioned people who carry out those tasks, if you like. And what I've done here is, after one of the workshops, I have included quite an extensive evaluation from some of the governors of one of the schools, and I thought that was great. Rather than me just tell you how excited the children are, that governor has been able to explore that with you and to explain to you what it is they found useful. And the governor indicated here, I see him regularly, so I know that he hasn't written this just because he thought he ought to. He genuinely was very interested in the workshops that we actually gave to the school that he was at. So the information is there on page 12 and page 13. Are there any questions about that? It just gives you a flavour of all the types of things that we do when we do go into schools. Then the next part is support for schools, and I am able to support schools as much as possible. I send them, I expect just like you do, Lindsay, I send them information on things like Black History Week, the Holocaust Day, all of those types of things. And we get feedback to say, thank you for reminding us, that's very, very useful, and so on. So the support for schools, I have visited many schools over the past few months, and Hifsa, who is now your Vice Chair, she has also visited schools over the past few months as well, in her capacity as a trainer regarding Islam and anything to do with being a Muslim. But she is also an accredited Department for Education trainer with regard to racism, etc. So she can do any of those aspects within schools. So that's good to know. So support for schools is actually more extensive than we've ever given, and I would say that we've increased that support by over 100% since I've been able to share that with Hifsa.
I think it might be worth commenting, Mary, about how your time is actually funded. Some time we can actually fund from the Sacre budget, but schools have to buy in to other things.
So what happens is, within Entrust, they look after many maintained schools. They are the trading arm of Staffordshire County Council. And schools can approach Entrust and ask them, do you have anybody who could come into our school to talk about religious education, or to talk about being a Muslim, or I've just had a request for could I go into a school and talk about what does it mean to be a Christian at Christmas? Not a cultural Christian, but one who is actually a active Christian, a practicing Christian. So what happens there is that Sacre, they have a budget, we pay for some of that support, and in the case of academies, they have to put some of the money in as well. So it's a little bit of a mix and match. So that's how we approach that. Then we're very fortunate, and at page 13, to have some additional funds given to our Sacre through the Cullum St Gabriel charity grant. And I'll explain a little bit more of that when we get to agenda item 9. And that's been very successful. Then personally myself, I've been working with the National Association of Teachers for Religious Education, the Association for Religious Education Advisors. I've also been able to talk to local RE groups about religious education and been able to share the work of Sacre with them and to point them in the direction of our new website that we set up not so long, not even a year, is it? Yeah. Our new website that we've set up for schools they can access free of charge, so I always point them in that direction, and also to the Sacre website. And on there are lots of resources that they can access for free with regard to teaching religious education in their school and collective worship. And then, in addition, I also signpost them to something called RE Today, which is an organisation that is nationwide, and this produces many publications to help in schools. So, for instance, here is one from the summer. What is it like to be a Sikh, investigating Sikh through world views, and all of that is in line with our agreed syllabus. We don't get this for free. You as Sacre actually pay for the subscription, but then I can share the subscription because we have an enhanced subscription, which means that any email address I give to NATRE from a school, they can access nearly all of the NATRE resources. So because of our enhanced subscription, that's been so useful for schools because we can't cover everything on our website. The world of RE and worldviews is vast. So those schools that actually buy in, if you like, and want workshops, they're given that as an additional incentive to carry on that good work. And that's been very well received since we've had that enhanced subscription. Then we've been working with schools on the Religious Education Quality Mark. That's called the REQM. I was very fortunate a number of years ago when I was the head teacher at a school that the Sacre here, they actually helped me in my school to go for the REQM, and we were awarded that, and we were the very first school in the whole of the West Midlands to achieve that.
Could I just ask that we give our praise and thanks to the head teacher of those 3 schools? 3 different parts of the county, one in South Staffs, one in Cannock, one in Uttoxeter. And I will declare an interest, say that when St Luke got it, I was on the Board of Governors. So I know how hard, well, he's a member of our committee, isn't he, Sean Miles? He's still head teacher there, and how hard the school worked to get that award. So it's, they don't come lightly, I'll put it that way. So.
But just to point out a correction, I think it might be St Mary's in Uttoxeter, not St Michael's.
It's Zoe Callahan's school, so we'll soon see in a moment because we're going to get a presentation from them. So we'll.
That's what I was just going to say, Penkridge. Yeah.
Apologies, it's actually St Michael's Penkridge. Yes, thank you for that. Oh, it's so useful to have knowledgeable people at the meeting. Absolutely. And there is actually another one at St Michael's in Lichfield. So there's another one, so we mustn't mix them all up, must we? I was the head teacher at the St Michael's in Stone. So.
The trouble starts when it's All Saints. There's an awful lot of that.
Yeah, I'd like to endorse what Councillor Snape said, actually. Sacre would be very pleased to give its congratulations and thanks to the schools and the head teachers and the leaders in RE to these schools. It is a considerable achievement, and they have to work hard for it, and it's a stringent qualification to achieve, as I'm sure Mary would agree. And we will send them our warmest congratulations and good wishes.
And I totally endorse all of that. I understand how much hard work it is. And the lovely thing about the REQM, it's not just about religious education, it's actually about leadership in its wider sense. It's about equality, it's about equity, it's about diversity, it's about inclusion, all the things that we just discussed in our previous meeting. So I'm absolutely with you on that. And at this point, we were supposed to have live children that were going to come and tell us all about their RE at school through Zoe Callahan's school. But unfortunately, she couldn't come due to, you know what schools are like. But she sent a video. So we're going to watch the video.
Hello, we are the Vision Ambassadors from St Michael's First School, and we would like to tell you all about RE at our school. Come on in!
This is our RE Showcase Wall. It captures some of the learning children are doing this term. Learn about religious and non-religious worldviews and look at the similarities and differences between them.
This is a big freeze. It tells us the story of the Bible. It helps us with our RE learning. The big freeze is so important to us. We even share it with our families.
This is a flashback for we do it before the lesson, and it reminds us of our previous lessons.
We have a theological thought in our RE, and it helps us to dig a bit deeper in our learning. Thank you for watching. I hope this gives you a flavour of RE at our school.
Now, it would have been lovely if we'd have had the children themselves telling us that, but I think you get a little flavour there. And it's important to note that that is actually a first school, so they only go up to the age of 9, but I think the clarity of speech and their understanding of religious education is actually praiseworthy. The things they were talking about there normally are talked about in year 5 and year 6. So it's excellent work, and they deserve the gold mark that they've received for REQM.
Can I make a comment, Mary? I'll just add one comment there, if I may. St Michael's is an aided school, which means that it is able to offer an RE programme which is much more faith-based than the agreed syllabus of the county would be for normal other schools. And that may be why it comes over as a lot more, if you like, faith-oriented and faith content. And that is permitted within our school system. You have to be very careful if you aren't a faith-based school, like St Michael's, in how you present the beliefs of yourself and other people. You have to be much more balanced. But in the faith schools that there are in this country, particularly those that are aided or independent or academies, they are able to, if you like, enable the pupils there to become enculturated into the faith community that the school belongs to, in a much more positive and indicative way than just by following the agreed syllabus. So you may have detected that kind of nuance. I think Councillor Snape was going to comment.
I'm just going to pass my view on a matter. I've got on my division, I've got 3 high schools, and 7 junior schools. And when I go into the Catholic, Christian, religious schools, there are no Muslim or Sikh schools, they are either Catholic or Church of England. And those who've had the Section 48 inspection stuff, they seem nicer schools to go into, friendlier places to be. The pupils open doors to you, say hello, good morning, than some of the other schools. So I don't know if it just comes from the religious belief they're taught as part of whichever religion it is. It just seems that they become nicer people. And when you listen to those children on there, they were free to speak. They were polite. They were very well dressed, like some schools you go into. It's, well, they're still wearing nappies at 7 years old. So I think the whole ethos of the religious education, the inspection side, improves the school and definitely to me improves the quality of our children.
And the reason for that as well could be is that a school with a Christian foundation has to have its visions and values that are inspected. Yes, they're inspected, but they have to be built up through Bible texts and Christian values, and all of those things permeate through staff, governors in particular. You can't just have the children doing one thing and everybody else doing something else. So it is a whole package in a church school. And, you know, I've not long retired as a Section 48 inspector, and it's always a privilege to go into schools and see that lived out day by day. And I quite agree with you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Gabby, yes.
Middle.
I just wonder whether it might also have to do something with selection. Parents who send their children deliberately to a Christian school are probably different parents to some who just send their children to the nearest school. So we have to be careful in the interpretation of what we are saying about Christian schools. It could have something to do with the selection.
Can I just say that many of our children attending our Church of England schools are from the whole community, and our privilege is to welcome and to educate all of the children. Many of the children in our church schools are not deliberately chosen by parents. The children are just there, very often locally attending children. So what you're seeing is a representation of what I see visiting church schools on a regular basis, and that includes children from Christian, from Muslim, from no faith backgrounds. That vision and values is the foundation that helps every single one of our school communities live that out, and every single one of the children are welcomed, whether they are from a Christian background or from another faith or from no faith.
Well, thank you everyone for contributions on that. This is a valuable area of discussion. And we would hope that children in every school grow in a way that enables them to respect other people, to be nice people themselves, and to grow in their understanding of the world and in how they interpret it and how they get along with other people. And there are various ways in which our school system is structured now, and we hope that all children can flourish in whichever form they find themselves in. But thank you for those contributions. Any further comment on the updating from Mary? So we move on to item 8. This is the update on the National Association of Sacres. And I said I will give a brief update here. I've got a number of very quick items just to share with people. There's a reference, I think, somewhere to the fact of the annual conference that NASICA holds, which both Mary and I went to, but this was reported in the previous meeting, so I won't dwell on this, but there were a number of good speakers there, and very worthwhile conference, I think. Second thing to say is that NASICA itself has been in a slight difficulty over who was going to chair it. The chair who was expected to take over for 2 years had to withdraw for personal and family reasons. And, if I can put it like this, NASICA is now headed by a 3-headed monster. There are 3 co-chairs to the National Association. Bill Moore, Denise Chaplin and Paul Smalley, all of whom I know and I've worked with. And it all seems to be going well at the moment, so that's fine. And one thing that NASICA has taken on is to help promote and coordinate the events of Interfaith Week, which is about to happen. In fact, it may be happening now. And the reason why this has happened is because Interfaith Week used to be supported and sponsored very, very centrally by the Interfaith Network UK, which for 30 years or so has been the voluntary body which has helped to promote interfaith relations and interfaith discussion and to represent interfaith issues to the government. And very sadly, the government withdrew its support for this organisation and it was unable to keep going, and it had to wind itself up about a year ago now. Or was it half a year ago? Half a year ago. And NASICA has stepped in as far as it can, although NASICA itself has got very limited resources, to try to enable Interfaith Week to continue this year. And it may be that some of us will pick up some of the events that are happening there. The hub network is continuing to be RE hubs, regional RE hubs are continuing to be promoted. There was a regional hub meeting recently. I'm sorry to say that only 2 people from the Sacrays in this area went. Neither Mary nor I or anybody else from here went, but I think we need to try to build up our links with the RE hub. NASICA is continuing to promote its suite, if I can use it that term, of webinars for the training of Sacray members. And if you haven't taken advantage of any of these in the past, you might find it worthwhile to look them up and possibly to use them. A small fee is involved in buying into these, which the Sacray pays. And I don't know whether we paid in for the whole lot of the suite, Mary. I can't remember.
We've paid a service level agreement. I'm not absolutely certain if it covers all of the webinars. The ones I've been on, I haven't been charged. So I'm presuming we are on them. The only thing is that we do need to remind everybody about the password to get onto the NASICA website. So perhaps if Joe could send that out to everybody, because it changes every year, and if you try to use your old one, you can't access it. But that's what gives you access to the suite of webinars as well, because that gives you all the information you need in order to access them.
Not exactly a state secret, but the code, the password for each year is changed in order to encourage local Sacrays to pay their annual fees. And if they don't pay their annual fees, they don't get the password. We haven't had any great security leaks as far as we know, but it's a fairly complicated password, and it just helps to, as I say, to encourage local Sacrays to pay an annual subscription fee, which is only £100+. It's not a huge amount. And people will be aware that NASICA has been trying to establish itself in a new format as a registered company. This process is still ongoing, and I'm optimistic, I should say I am hoping, that this will be concluded within the next month or two, because until it does, I am still a signatory for the bank operations and money activities of NASICA. And the view was 2 years ago that when we had a company status, we would have a new bank account, and then my own role and need to be a signatory and an authorising agent for NASICA would cease. But it hasn't ceased yet. So, in a sense, it's a hangover from that. But hopefully, NASICA will become a company in the very near future. So that's where NASICA is at the moment, and I do encourage you, as Mary says, to look at the NASICA website from time to time, and of course to take note of what it includes in its briefing, which comes out once a term, and which is full of good things, very important things in the RE world. Any questions people would like to ask about NASICA? Incidentally, NASICA is the name is pronounced in various ways according to people's local dialect. Nasacre is one I've heard. Naseka is another one I've heard. Yes.
You mentioned hubs in passing, and I was just wondering, are these the regional groups that I'm only aware of one at Doxy? Is that right? It's not that one?
No, the RE hubs are something that's been set up throughout the whole of the country.
Okay.
Where you can go on to, you just Google RE hubs, and up will come a page saying which area are you interested in. So you could say you press West Midlands, and up will come everybody and anybody who can support you in the West Midlands. Perhaps there'll be a speaker about Sikhism, perhaps there'll be somebody about Hindu Dharma, and then you could go to the Devon one, and it will come all their types of support that they can offer you. The only thing I did ask is that they added all the SACRAs to it, but we're still waiting for that to be actioned because we support as well. So HIFSA is already on there as an independent person, so people contact her. I am not there as an independent person because I have too much to do as it is. So they are great, they are rehabs, and when people ask me for support, I always signpost them to the RE hub as well, and some people have found speakers through that. All of those speakers have to have a disclosure and barring service, a DBS for safeguarding. They have to be vetted, so it's not just any old person puts their name on. They are verified as being able to work with children, because you can be able to speak to an adult about your faith, but speaking to a children is a whole new kettle of fish.
And that's run by who? Is that?
That's run by RE Today, these people.
Oh, sorry, yes.
And NASICA, where we all join together to actually promote these. So the associations I'm with, the ARIAC Association for Inspectors, that also promotes them, and so on. And then we have a RE Hub local meeting, which is run by somebody called Sarah Dennis over at Lichfield. And we send, she and I work out an agenda together, and we send it out to all the schools that are interested. And so we come and we have a local meeting as well. Right. So and in that we talk about the RE hubs, but then we talk about what's available locally.
Okay, lovely. So, thank you.
I can add just a little bit. There are, I think, 9 regional hubs across the country, corresponding to the regions that the government operates on, largely. Each hub has somebody whose time is paid for, I think, 1 day a week, to support the work of the hub in coordinating RE and RE resources within the region. And there is a national coordinator who is full-time, I think, as well. Right, we move on to a major item now, which is our updated safeguarding policy. And obviously we come to this, at least I do, with the knowledge that the Archbishop of Canterbury has himself been tripped up very, very badly by failures in safeguarding processes which he was involved in failing to act on information that came to him. So this is very much a hot potato, and everybody is expected to be really up to the mark in this area. The local authority has its own safeguarding policy, And I think this is, to a large extent, drawn on that policy, and in any case, it would have to be consistent with it and compliant with it. But I'll hand over to Mary so that she can take us through this.
If you remember, a year ago, we decided we needed a safeguarding policy. And I looked at the County Council one and the one that schools use and the ones that the unions have actually certified as correct to use in schools. And so I took some areas out of it which were not applicable, and so it's a modified version, but it's still an okay version. So this is our safeguarding policy. If I go into a school, I have to show that I have a DBS number. If HIFSA goes into school, we have to show that we understand safeguarding. We're talking to children. We're talking to children about sensitive issues. And sometimes when you're talking about sensitive issues to children, they actually share things that are sensitive to them. So we have to be aware of how safeguarding is operated within the county and within schools. We're always told when we visit, this is the safeguarding officer, this is their picture. If you need to talk to anybody, please talk to them. So the policy that you have here is the policy that we had from last year, but I have updated the links that are in blue, and those links are to do with the new documentation from the Department of Education, which are called Working Together to Safeguard Children and Keeping Children Safe in Education. And they are updated for 2024, and they have implications for schools, and if schools don't follow those, and if therefore if we don't follow them and Ofsted come in, then your school could go into special measures or serious weaknesses or requires improvement. You wouldn't necessarily get a good grading, although they have changed that slightly since the death of Ruth Perry, in that if they find a safeguarding issue, they will return to your school within a few months to look at that issue once again. So this is an updated policy. It is more up to date than some of the schools' policies, because I actually review websites for schools, and I have to point out to them they're using outdated policies. So anything that you see that has got a blue link, that blue link has been updated and everything is now completely and utterly up to date. If we visit a school, if so, all right, Ofsted could be in, and we're often asked, how do we know and understand about safeguarding issues within a school? So because we work for the SACRE, we can say we have a SACRE policy, we follow that, and it is in line with the county policy. And that's helpful, especially if you're in an academy, because sometimes they vary their policy, but HIFSA and I, or yourselves if you visit a school, you have to have a policy that is consistent for all of us. So it's many, many pages, and I don't apologise actually for that, because inside this policy is everything you could possibly think of to do with safeguarding of children, making sure that they're safe in the context of school, but also safe in the context of home, because a child can share information with you that they want to share from home, and then we have a duty to report. If you don't report, then you are going against the law. So this is why it's here today, for you all to know that we actually hold safeguarding at the top of everything that we do. And if safeguarding isn't right, then nothing can be right in school, because safety of children is paramount and it's above everything and anything. So I know there's lots in it.
It occurs to me, Mary, when we have situations where YouthNet and HIFSA and colleagues go into schools, have they consciously signed up to the safeguarding policy, and should we in fact ask them to do so?
Well, we could, on the SACRE website, we could possibly have an area where people tick according to their name, a compliance section. I don't know if that's allowed.
We could look into it. It's good to be transparent as well, somewhere easy to access. I can look into that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and therefore we could also put within that our code of conduct, and it might be that we do an annual declaration that, as we do in schools, an annual declaration that we've reminded ourselves, the code of conduct, we've reminded ourselves of our safeguarding. It's a very good point, Michael.
Yeah. I imagine that we're all here familiar to some extent with the need for safeguarding and with various statements of safeguarding practice and requirements. Yes, Linda.
I was just going to say, if any of here are school governors, then you have to sign up every year and look at these sites and sign that you've read them and you accept them.
Just to update the committee, I am vice chair of the scrutiny committee, a safeguard scrutiny committee. It actually, how can I put it, supervises and scrutinises the county policy. And just to say, update, that Michael has just been co-opted onto our committee, so he's now also a member of our scrutiny committee that looks at all safeguard of children and adult services. But the big really thing is children's services, as far as we're connected to here.
I'd forgotten that, Paul. The meeting hasn't happened yet since I was drafted on, I think. Okay, perhaps I was. Yes, okay. Yes, I was. Okay, yes.
We also had Mr. Bell, who's, sorry, just say, we've got Steve Bell, who's also now the head of Catholic education for the Archdiocese of Birmingham, and Steve was there as well. So it's there's a good background, really, in religious educators who are on that committee.
And I don't know if you know, but I have a role within governor services that it is my job to update the governors on what it is they're required to do by law regarding their strategic, not just operational, but strategic role within safeguarding within their schools as well. And I actually train on strategic safeguarding for, not teachers, but for governors. So I think in this room we have quite a bit of experience, so well done.
As far as this meeting is concerned, I think all we're being invited to do is to take note of the updating. But I would encourage people to take the time to look through the document and become familiar with it and with the appendices, because it contextualises the concern quite strongly, doesn't it? Do you want to say anything further, Mary? No. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much, everyone. A serious, very serious matter. And we move on to the Culham St Gabriel grant update, item 10. Over to Mary again.
One of the reasons as well that we have a safeguarding policy is that in order for us to access outside grants, we have to prove that if we're going to talk to children, that we understand our duties towards keeping them safe. So this is what actually last year moved us forward with regard to safeguarding, because I applied on behalf of SACRE for a Culham St Gabriel charity grant. Not realising quite how difficult that journey would be and how many interviews and papers you have to write in order to access it. You know, ignorance is bliss. Well, we were very successful and we received £6,500, which is some considerable amount, and that was for me to visit schools and talk to leaders, and in particular governors and trustees, about equity, equality, diversity and inclusion, with reference to religious education, personal social health education, and actually with reference to the diverse curriculum that schools indicate that they are teaching. So over, as you can see on page 45 and page 46, it explains how actually I went about this, that I had to advertise it, obviously. Then I had some questionnaires back from people saying what their need was. Then I had to write materials to meet their needs. Then I had to deliver webinars times 6. Now, we only actually delivered 2 webinars because everybody else wanted it face-to-face, because they said this was about debate and dialogue, and debate and dialogue isn't always easy through a webinar. So that would have resulted, wouldn't it, in 4 face-to-face meetings, where in actual fact I've done many, many more than 4 because it's been very popular. And the way it's been advertised is through something called the Governor Information Packs, which go out to 300 to 400 schools in Staffordshire, and coincidentally I actually write it. And so through that we were able to say to school, look, here's some free training. And it's been very well received. I was in a middle school last night, and I've already had an email this morning to say as a result of the training last night, their vision and values are changing, because they understand EDI is not actually, equality, equity, diversity and inclusion, is not as apparent as they thought it was when they went back to look at their website. And that has happened over and over. So schools are saying they are doing it, but they're not explicit enough. So I'm saying, so make explicit that which is implicit. And it's moved many people's thoughts and feelings on, especially when talking about what diversity is. You know, diversity is saying, oh yes, we're all here together, isn't it wonderful? But inclusion is actually taking note of the people that are actually diverse within your communities and listening to them and have good listening skills when you're talking to them. So it's not just paying lip service to that. So I'm coming to the end of this now, and I will have to write an evaluation, project evaluation, and that's where I'm currently at. So what I've been doing with regard to the evaluations is people have been scoring themselves at the beginning of the training about their mindset. What do they think they are on a scale of 1 to 5 currently? And then at the end, they rescore themselves. And last night, most of the people were around a 2.5 to a 3. They liked the 0.5s. And then afterwards, they felt they were a 4.5 to a 5 because they had definitely increased their understanding of what that means. And we did present that to you. I know you weren't here, Michael, but we did present it last time. The money, the 6,500, has gone into our SACRE budget. So that's why the SACRE budget looks like we had so much more money this year, but that is ring-fenced for these actual events. And so we're just coming to the end of that. I've got a couple more to do, and then the evaluation will be underway. And week Thursday, I have to go before a panel of people and present what it is we have done for our SACRE. And I'm hoping that they say, that sounds like it was a very good and worthwhile project.
Sorry, I've had my red thing on all the time. I hope everybody can hear reasonably well. I think we all ought to congratulate Mary for being successful in getting this award, which was highly competitive, and say that she's almost uniquely qualified to carry out the work that was required for all sorts of reasons, but not least because she has access to governor networks and the experience of training governors and senior leaders in schools, not just the RE lead and RE teachers. I think from the Culham St Gabriel point of view, they wanted this to be a kind of pioneer work, looking at how the mindset of leaders, of school leaders, including governors here, can be moved forward in terms of equity and so on. I think one of the other aspects of this is that I don't think Mary would have got this award if our agreed syllabus had not been capable of being part of that process. One of the features of our agreed syllabus is that it goes beyond the twofold process of explore and engage into the third ethnic of reflect. And it's this reflecting on what it means to be in a multiple, ethnic, multicultural, multi-faith society, and how one's own attitudes are involved in this and need to be, in a sense, brought out and examined so that you know exactly where your own prejudices, your own blindnesses, so to speak, might be. Mary has done extremely well to be successful here, and it takes our own agreed syllabus further, and I'm sure, and has been a kind of source of stimulus to the work that she is doing with schools in leadership as well as RE within the county and beyond. I notice Newman College here and Edinburgh University. And I'm sure that this is what the Culham St Gabriel people wanted. They wanted this process to be cascaded out in due course. And so I say in my letter to introduction to the annual report that Mary has a national profile through this grant, and it might become even more glorious in the follow-up to this. But we do congratulate Mary and thank her for the hard work that she's put into this. It has been hard work. And Mary, being Mary, is paid for this work, but does far more than the pay would actually cover. In terms of strict hourly rates and so on. So well done, Mary, and very warmest thanks to you for that.
Well, I thank you. And I would like to say that actually this work now is being extended into 43 other local authorities, because what has happened is I now have to write the national governance pamphlets as well. And within that, I always put religious education. I always sing the praises of the sacres and what everybody's doing through their own diocese and everything. So it is always on now on the national picture. And then I also run the webinars that match all of that, and I have to run the national webinars as well as the local ones as well. So RE is always on the agenda. Always, always, always.
Thank you again, Mary, and well done. And we look forward to further news of the name of Mary and of Staffordshire receiving national attention. So that's very good. Move on to item 11. And again, in amongst all the other work that Mary does, she has produced this draft annual report for the academic year 23-24. It's up to the Sacre now to agree this report and to ensure that it is passed on to the County Council and to all the schools in the authority and to Nassika. It's a public document. It's a report of the work that Sacre has done, and if you like, as far as it can be, a report on the state of RE and collective worship in the county. Although, as always, the collection of data is quite a challenge, being able to find some firm material on which to give the report. I've written an introductory letter, as you can see, and I'd like to have your agreement to add a phrase at the very end, which is on page 2 of the report, or page 50 of the papers for this meeting. And it would read something like this. In our complex modern world, this kind of context is more needed than ever, and your Sacre will continue vigorously to promote and to model education into diversity, through high quality and compelling religious education.
Oh, right, fine, okay. Okay, I just need to, I started writing all of it, and I realised it was there.
Through high quality and compelling religious education.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay to everyone? Right, now please do have a go at the report and say that this and this ought to be done differently, or we've not included something, or whatever, or ask questions about the statistics, but although we have discussed these in previous Sacre meetings.
Yeah, this is really a summary of all our Sacre meetings from over the year with some additional bits and pieces. From here, it has to go to Tim Moss, because Tim likes to see it. Obviously, as assistant director, he has to see it to check that the information I've provided is accurate, because it's talking about schools, it's got school names in it and all sorts. So he likes to check it, and he sometimes makes some modifications, which is, I think, fair comment. And then by February, we send it off to the National Association. and then the National Association send them now onto the DFE, the Department for Education. That's a new thing that's been happening just for the past 2 years.
And also, Nassaka, I should say, has been able to fund a consultant to look at all the reports from the annual reports from SACRA's and to draw some general conclusions from these annual reports, which didn't used to happen, although it should have done. In a sense, it's something that you would expect the Department for Education to do. But Nassaka has been doing that at its own expense for several years now. And it will continue to do so until it hasn't got the money to do it, if I put it like that.
Sorry. Thank you. We've got a new head of Children's Services, Bernie Brown. Have you been involved with her at all yet? I mean, like, well, she's Mr. Moss's boss, basically.
Yes, no, I haven't. The person I deal with is Tim Moss all of the time. I email him, he emails me. I haven't had any conversations with Bernie yet.
She's very outgoing, very easy to speak to, so, and she listens, and she comes back to you normally within 24 hours. So she's a change from what we've had previously over the last couple of times. So, yeah.
Thank you. Once it's been ratified, I presume this is shared through the Governor Pack, or is it shared
This
amongst
is shared
Stafford
through
schools?
something called the Head Teacher's Electronic Bag, which is like all the conversations that the local authority has with schools. It's put on that website, which comes up every Monday morning, telling them these are the latest things you need to know. This is the latest information we wish to share with you. So it comes through that. I will also reference it in the Governor Information Packs as well, because it will go on to our website eventually when it's been okayed. And yes, so they get a link to it as well.
Okay. And could I share it on our union website, for example? Is it something I could share with our members?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Not, obviously next year.
The annual report is a public document, and we're happy for it to go to anywhere and to anyone who's interested in it. It does go to all schools, as Mary says, so governors should also be aware of it if they want to look at it. And I will endeavour to ensure that the report is received by the appropriate scrutiny committee of the County Council, which is a bit of a labyrinthine process, but we've managed to do it the last few years. If anybody comes across a misprint or a misspelling in the annual report, do please point it out. Yeah, Linda.
I found one already on page 3.7. I'm not sure what page it is.
3.7, I'm on it.
Right.
Assist and provision.
Yes, and it says some schools, it should say sort.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what we said last time was that within 10 days of this meeting, if you have something you wish to change or you think is not accurate, then you let Joe know. Joe will then email that to me and I will make the necessary modifications. After that 10 days, then I will send it on to Tim Moss, who will most probably share with Bernie, and then he will make any modifications if he thinks I've made a mistake. I might have called it a school and academy, and actually they're a maintained school. We've got to make sure we're accurate in what we're writing. So should we say 10 days? Is that all right, Joe?
Quibble really on page 54. I think it'd be technically correct to say schools mostly involving Jehovah's Witnesses, full stop. Not Jehovah's Witness followers, but Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, okay.
But it's just a quibble, really. Anyway, please look at the report. If you find something that's amiss, let us know within the time limit. That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. And we move on. I'd just like to draw attention to the SACRE membership. It's on page 71 in Appendix 2 of the annual report. This both gives you who the different bodies, which the different bodies are, and their different elements within the 4 groups or committees, and where we stand with regard to representation and attendance. Where you've got an A, it's an apology. Where you've got a tick, it's an attendance. And where you've got nothing, it's a nothing. And you can see that we could well do with some little more participation here. I would say that what stands out from this is how consistent and how solid the support is from the local authority, Committee D. And we very much appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Page 72. Yeah. On to there's a budget at the end of as another appendix.
Yeah.
Now we move on. Let's
To the actual.
switch to
No, we're on to the...
SACRE budget. This is item 12.
yeah, on page 79.
Yeah.
So on page 79 you have the budget. It's a little bit small, apologies. And you can see that we were originally given £6,720 from the local authority to carry out the work of the SACRE. Added to that was the additional funds that we had from the Culham St Gabriel. And you can see down below the paid invoices and so on. So currently we have about £2,000 left. Out of that we have to pay next the subscriptions for NATRE. We've got to pay the subscriptions for NASICA, and then we still have some ongoing workshops that are booked in between now and next March. If we don't spend the money, we have found we cannot ever carry it forward. So we are going to spend the money. I think last year we had £90 left. Previous years we've had sometimes £1,000 left, but they will not let us carry it forward. We've had many discussions about that. So now we are going to spend it. So what will happen is that the £2,000 that's left is going to be spent on workshops for children. And if HIFSA goes into a school, that costs money. If I go into a school, it costs money. And so we support in that way. So I hope everybody's happy with that. You can see we've not wasted anything.
To say that we've got spare money is slightly misleading. What it means is that we have money that SACRE can use constructively, and if we do so, then that money will get spent, and if we don't do so, the money will not get used. It really relies on Mary to have the spare capacity and the motivation to enable schools to access further support and training over and above what's already available and up there. And if Mary hasn't got the time, then you can't really do very much, can you? Unless we actually buy in other kind of consultants, which we could do. But normally the amount of money involved is not so great that we would really want to do that. Consultants come at the cost of something like £500 to £600 a day, or even half a day. Yes. Some of them.
And it may be that some of the money will be spent if a school wants the equality, equity and diversity training, but the Culham grant has come to an end. It may be that we use some of that to help and support them if they want that training, because that's about leaders as well, which is important as much as the children.
If we ever come to have money left, is there any way we could make a donation to any of our schools or anything, just so it's not left in the budget, we lose it, so at least it's been spent on
Yeah.
one of the services we tried to provide.
Yes, we did that for St Chad's because it was a small school. They didn't have sufficient funds to actually pay for the REQM, the Religious Education Quality Mark, so we actually paid for them. There was another school in Stafford called Flash Lee, and I don't, if you remember, they had to move, and they had to move to another premises. They didn't have any RE resources because everything had been just destroyed due to the formaldehyde poisoning, so we actually provided things for them. Yeah, and I'm very much on the ground with that, and people email and say, have you got, can you help? And then I look to see how we can help them.
Thank you, Paul. We do have a budget, a grant from the local authority, which Staffordshire County Council have always been very careful to honour and to support, but it has got some statutory force behind it. The local authorities are allocated some money within their central grant for the support of their SACRE, and that money is in the region of £6,000. Some of that is for Mary in her support of SACRE, but otherwise it's also in support of Mary, giving her time and expertise for courses, for CPD or for schools themselves. And money will only go so far, unfortunately. So I think we get very good value from the amount of money that is available.
Yeah. And to be open and transparent, what the county does, they pay me for 6 hours a month to do this work. But it's 6 hours a month. And as you can see, it is a little bit more than 6 hours a month. Writing the report was more than 6 hours. But it's a joy and a privilege. And of course, we have got the SACRE budget to supplement some of my work as well. So I think we have a good balance of paying and gaining. And as long as the schools benefit, then SACRE should be happy.
Okay, thanks very much, Mary. I think you're very prudent in the way you manage our budget, so thank you very much, well done. Come to item 13, applications for variation of practice. Lindsay will probably know what this is all about, but perhaps Samuel doesn't. This is a provision which should be a standing item on all SACRE meetings. Should there be requests from a school to vary the regulations relating to the act of collective worship, which schools are required by law to offer and to deliver every day. It is the SACRE's power and responsibility to receive these requests and to evaluate them should they receive one. And this is not a get-out-of-jail-free effort at all. If a school does apply for a variation in practice in terms of collective worship, this does not mean it can stop giving collective worship. It means it provides collective worship which is offered along different lines from the rubric that governs collective worship, that it should be broadly or mainly of a mainly Christian character. This is something, this power to ask for variation of practice is something that some SACREs spend a lot of time on, particularly where they have substantial presences of different faith communities within their area. I'm able to say that I think with just perhaps one other exception, we have never received an application for a variation of practice, but this has to be here in the agenda, and I give the rigmarole every other now and then, just to remind people what it's about. On the whole, collective worship is not exactly an elephant in the room, but it is an area of some contention and some difficulty. There are many people who would like the law to be modified so that the present way in which it is regulated and constrained is relaxed in various ways. But until now, the government has shown no inclination whatsoever to engage with this topic of conversation at all. So it has just been left in the long grass. Whether the new government will want to pick it up and run with it, I don't know. But I think it is likely to be a difficult area, and how you might modify the legislation, the statutory guidelines here, I do not know. Some people get really quite worked up about it, and other people just leave it by and don't engage with it, knowing that the government doesn't want to do anything about it because it could create quite a lot of debate and division. I think that's probably one of the factors. Least trouble caused by saying nothing and doing nothing, for the time being anyway. Mary.
And some schools confuse assembly, collective worship with religious education. And they think when we say how many hours do you spend on religious education in the year, they count up how many assemblies they've done, but actually it is quite separate. There is a review going on at the moment from the Labour government over the curriculum, but I do not believe that this is going to be part of that review, just as Michael has said. But we can watch this space. We can't preempt something that we don't know yet. So.
But I think RE itself is in the review.
Oh, it is? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I must apologise to members of the SACRE because we seem to have run out of agenda. And we normally carry on till about 4 o'clock. It must be that we're all of a mind, or that the matters that we've been talking about have not been so contentious that we need to spend a lot of discussion on them. Have we a date for the next meeting?
We do, thank you, Chair. It is Wednesday the 5th of February.
Wednesday the 5th of February.
Same time, same place.
Aha, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just checking I've got it myself. I haven't actually. It's not in. Do we have one for July as well, or June?
Yes.
We do. I can pass on two further dates, 25th of June and 12th of November.
The 26th of
25th.
25th
of June 25.
And the November one?
The 12th.
12th, okay.
Hopefully all Wednesdays.
For those future meetings, I cannot guarantee I will be here because I have to be recommissioned to carry on this role. So I will approach the local authority to say, I have carried out this role at this point. Do you wish me to continue? Usually Tim says, why are you asking? But I cannot ever presume because there may be other people who wish to advise the local authority.
No, I'm sure we wish Mary to continue, and all power to her elbow and to her knees. I think that concludes our meeting. I formally close it, and thank you very much for your attendance and good humour. And we look forward to our next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.